everyone. How you doing? What a good crowd. I think I count about 83 people. No, I'm kidding. It looks like you got a couple hundred people here. What a wonderful turnout on this cold morning. And you know what I think that means? West Virginia's ready for more income tax cuts. Yeah. You know, this is terrific. It's great to be back up in the Mid-Ohio Valley and see a lot of friendly faces. And, you know, we brought some reinforcements today. We have a wonderful member of the legislature here next to me, Dave Foggins. We also have Grover Norquist, who's going to talk a lot about the importance of cutting taxes. And I can tell you, having known Grover for a couple decades, he's probably the most dedicated and accomplished person in the country leading the way to help states understand that you can cut taxes, you can do so in a very responsible manner, and oh, by the way, it's the absolute right thing to do. So I'm really pleased that Grover came out here, and you're going to hear from him as he makes his arguments why West Virginia should continue on the march for across-the-board income tax cuts. Now, over the last year, we've been doing a lot of important work trying to focus on the basics in West Virginia. I talk a lot about the site selection and having good water and sewer and infrastructure, cutting regulations, cutting red tape. Those are disguised taxes. And I know when I served as the state attorney general, and Grover knows this, I spent a lot of time suing those federal agencies. We brought in the big West Virginia EPA win. We were the lead state to help knock off Chevron deference, lead state on Waters United States through burdensome regulations that really functioned as disguised taxes. In West Virginia, we're cutting red tape. We're moving faster than we ever have before, and that means more business opportunities for our citizens. Since October, we're seeing record-breaking investments in West Virginia. We went back and on an annual basis, this is our second biggest year in the last 15 in terms of economic investment from the private sector in West Virginia. That's great. But the reality is there's a lot more that needs to be done. We have to continue to double down on investing in our economy and ensuring that the free market works. And one of the best ways to do it, lowering the state income tax. But what we're doing is working, and it's resulting in thousands of projected jobs that are going to be coming in. And these aren't just temporary jobs. We have a number of important construction jobs, and I think it's great to be in a place where West Virginia is going to build, but we also have a lot of permanent jobs in the energy sector. That's critical because West Virginia is America's energy state, and we need to leverage that as much as we can. You know, we had a $2.5 billion commitment to build a 1.2 gigawatt gas plant. That's going to be very positive. We have a $1.2 billion joint venture to add another gas plant. And then there are other manufacturing jobs that are coming in, and a lot of that having to do with the regulatory environment and the improved tax environment that we have. And I'm just thrilled about that. You know that last week we had a terrific announcement out in Mason County with Frontieras. That's an $850 million large-scale coal reformation facility. That's over 2,000 construction jobs and over 200 full-time jobs when it's finished. That's great. Yeah. And you know, I know a lot of times, sometimes people poo-poo these construction jobs, but I think that the VOTEC jobs that we're producing, I see a scenario where we're going to be able to need 15 to 20,000 new construction workers, and we're going to have construction and building going out for the next decade. There are jobs for electricians, for sheet metal workers, for plumbers, that we know can help people last for 20 years. You can build a great career on that. These are good paying jobs, jobs where people work hard And they're going to remain, even as we continue to grow from a technology perspective. I don't think we're getting rid of plumbers and electricians anytime soon, nor should we. So thrilling things coming because of the decisions that we're making. I also know that it's so much fun to work with a good president in office or a great president. How about the work Donald Trump is doing to help West Virginia and our country? We're very pleased that we're supporting his efforts and on the tax changes and the big beautiful bill, and we're conforming West Virginia to many of those provisions. We're excited about that. But obviously, we're also working with him on some other initiatives. His rural health transformation, don't undersell that. That is going to give us a chance to really move the needle to get people healthier. And when you get people healthier, you get more people going into the workforce. You get a more productive workforce. And what does that do? That creates this virtuous circle where we're lifting up our standard of living, we're growing and strengthening the economy, which then helps people become healthier again. That's a terrific thing. And so that was also in the big beautiful bill. So we're excited about what President Trump is doing, and we're working closely with him on tax and economic policy, and of course on energy policy as well. So a lot of really good things that are happening, but we have to realize that these things just don't come automatically. They come with a lot of planning and foresight. And that's why when you see progress, you have to keep doubling down on the kind of policies that are going to make your state more attractive than other states that you touch. You guys have heard me talk a lot about the economic backyard brawl, right? Some people have heard that because we have to stay ahead of all of our competitors. We have to have stronger economic policies, lower taxes than Ohio, than Kentucky, than Pennsylvania, than Virginia, and Maryland. And one of the ways you do that is when you end up making the right fiscally responsible decisions, you're in a position where you can then return that money back to the people. And that's what we're doing. When I came into office, there were a lot of challenges. But we didn't shirk from the challenge. We stood up and we went to work. Last year, we made meaningful savings in our budget. We went to work on the administrative side. We sold government-run health facilities that were hurting the state, both in terms of the health care that was provided. There was a bad death of someone in scalded water, and also in terms of broader quality and financial issues. We're making these changes because we want to put the people first. And that's why I'm really happy to be here today. But when you start to do better from a fiscal perspective statewide, don't you think we should share that money back with the people? Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why in my State of the State, I called for a 10% across the board income tax cut. I know we can do it, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the reasons why we can and how important that is. I think like many of you, I look out at this room. How many people here have thought that you've been struggling with energy prices or grocery bills over the last few years, right? We've watched it. Well, what's the most effective way to deal with that? I would argue we want to provide tax relief to our citizens so that they have more spending money. They can deal with that, whether it's the price of energy bills or grocery, or you just want to take your family out to dinner on a Friday night or go see a movie. That's your money. It's the people's money. Never let anyone forget that. You're in charge of that money, and the more I can do to put you back in charge of it, the better. So affordability is critical, and that's why having a 10% income tax cut across the board makes a big difference. But there's another reason to do it as well. We know that we're in that competitive world, and we know that Ohio and Kentucky just took steps to lower their income tax. Well, quite frankly, I don't want to get defeated by Ohio and Kentucky. Do you? No. So knowing that, we have to do our part, and we have to step up, and we have to become even more aggressive. Now, we can do this the right way because we're being fiscally responsible and we're looking out for the future. I had the fortunate opportunity to spend a little time with Grover as we were coming in here today, and we're talking about the revenue we think by about 2030, 2031, we're going to be able to get through some of the provisions we passed last year that goes into an income tax fund to eventually eliminate the state income tax. But we have to make sure we're keeping up now. I don't want to wait till 2030 or 2031 and have other states lap us that are projected to get down to 2.5%. That's not how we're going to keep growing and winning that economic backyard brawl. So I want to make sure that we're making the steps that we need to do now to lower income taxes. So here's what we did. We built into our budget that 5%. We made a lot of the tough choices, right? And that's critical. And then we've asked the legislature to work together with us to get the remaining 5%. Reasonable thing, because for this to become law, I need the legislature's help. And so we want to collaborate with them. We have a lot of different ideas to save money, to reduce the size and scope of government, and to make the kind of changes that put the people first. Sending more money back and putting it in your hands, that is putting the people first. So this is a realistic proposal, and I'm excited to get it done this year. But I will tell you, it's an election year, and a lot of people are going to be looking to spend inordinate amounts of money. The more all of us can say, let's invest the money back in the people, I think everyday folks know that the people are the best deciders of how to spend their own money, right? Yeah. So this tax cut, I think it's going to help a lot with affordability. It's going to make our economy more competitive, and that's certainly what we need. And combined with the other changes we're making, cutting red tape, and really focusing on growing workforce participation, I think all of that's going to lead to some incredible things. Now, I am fortunate to be joined here by some terrific people. You know, we're here at Green's Supply Depot, and I want to ask our host, Chris DeWeese, how would a 10% income tax work for you and all of your workers?
It would be exciting. We would expand, we would grow, we would create more jobs, and people would have money to take home every day.
Whoa.
That's not scripted. I'm gonna ask Chris to come up and say a few words, but when he has more opportunity to invest in his people, he does that. That creates more jobs. Once again, it addresses the affordability issue. You know, income taxes, I think, have been the bane of existence for many, many states. And part of the reason why people dislike them so much, why I dislike them, is because I do believe it's immoral to punish work, right? If you want to work, why should we be putting blocks in place to limit that? We need to remove those barriers so more people get to go to work, more people are incentivized to go to work. That's why I'm so committed to this, and I think this 10% tax cut, it's going to help. So we can grow, we can attract more investment, and we can continue to cut taxes the right way if we work together. So I'm asking the legislature to work together with me to have this 10% across the board tax cut. Now, I'm very fortunate to have one of the leaders of the tax cutting movement with us today, a national figure who has done wonderful things, who I've known for a long time. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my friend, Grover Norquist. Grover's no stranger to West Virginia. He actually was very close friends, as I was as well, with a gentleman by the name of John Overington, our friend who just passed away. He's another big leader of the anti-tax movement. So Grover knows West Virginia, and he's been working with us to help emphasize the importance of this tax cut. So Grover, I want to first have you come up, and then we're going to turn it over to some of the other folks to talk about their own perspective on tax cuts. Grover?
Governor.
Thank you.
Governor, thank you. Look, we live in a country that was started in a tax revolt. The British started, and the British started deciding they were going to tax us a little more, or at all, and we said, go away, and we asked them politely to leave, and then we started shooting at them. And they left. We often think about taxes as just a national issue because when the president cuts the income tax or raises the income tax, everyone in the country feels it. We saw what happened in the 20s when Coolidge cut taxes, and you had the roaring 20s, Hoover decided to raise the income tax to 75%. And we had the Great Depression, which lasted 10 years. And then we had the Kennedy tax cuts, which gave us roaring growth in the 60s. Nixon raised taxes, unfortunately, and we went back to less growth. Reagan cut taxes in the 80s, and we had strong period of growth. And more recently, the President Trump was able to cut taxes in his first term. We had real growth until COVID hit. And now, with the permanent tax cut that was just passed, and things that were temporary were made permanent, we've seen the growth rate now in this last quarter up to 5.4% on an annualized basis. And that's up from 2 to 5.4%. So we're looking at strong growth because tax rates went down. And we end up with more people working, more people getting better pay, more investment in the United States. When you tax things less, you get more of them. And when you tax investment in jobs less, you get more of them. When you tax work less, you get more work. And this has been the pattern in American history recently, and we see it at the national level. But when somebody decides where to work and start a company, where to invest to build a factory or a power plant, once they've decided to do it in the United States, there's still 50 decisions to make. Which state? And West Virginia is leading among the states that have decided to go to zero on the income tax. And this cheerful map here is the green states. There are the 8 states that have no income tax, never did, decided to pass on it. As a result, Florida, which is now larger in population than New York. That was not true when I was a kid. Florida is full of cows. It now has more people than New York. They spend half as much on state government as New York does, even though they have more people. So they spend half as much per capita with better schools and everything else. They kept spending down. They never had an income tax. Those states that ended up with income taxes grew spending faster than perhaps they would have liked to, and states have decided, okay, we need to take the income tax down, and 12 states are actively committed to taking the income tax to zero. West Virginia is among the leading states in that movement. We have Mississippi has voted a law that phased down to a flat rate income tax at 4%, and now they're going to zero. Our friends in Oklahoma have passed a law to go to a single rate and then down to zero, as has West Virginia and Kentucky and our friends in Indiana. And now, the yellow states here are states that are at a single rate tax. The advantage of a single rate tax is that everybody gets treated the same, and the politicians can't divide us into different groups and mug us one at a time. Oh, don't worry, we're just raising taxes on these people. Then they go back to these guys and say, you sit this one out, we're going to get these guys next. And all of a sudden, the income tax goes up and up and up. And that's been the story of the income tax in each of these states until recently. They hadn't had an income tax cut in 100 years in Missouri until a few years ago. And now, as just 2 days ago, with the leadership in Missouri, which is evidently right next to Missouri, and they are committed now to phasing their income tax to zero. They see that West Virginia and other states have made this commitment to do it. 12 are actively looking to do it. West Virginia has taken the first steps and passed the laws to trigger down. And as we do that, it's very important that we keep the momentum down to take the income tax rate down, 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 to zero, so the people deciding, well, says the investor, there are 50 states, where do I want to be? First, they take a look at California with an income tax at 14.5%, and say, not California. And then they go look at New York and decide, not New York, over 10%. But then there are a number of states that have slightly competitive rates, but those states that have committed to go to zero are the ones that businesses are beginning to invest more and more in, because, and people, first, investment flows into states that are going to zero because people don't invest for the next 2 years. They don't hire people for 2 years. They don't build a facility like this for the next 5 or 10 years. They build for decades. And they need to know that taxes are going down, not up, and that they're going down with some permanency. And the commitment to go to zero on the personal income tax is one that people say, you know what, once it gets to zero, it's not moving back up again. The states that have gone to zero never leave zero. The states that get to a single rate tax don't raise taxes. In Illinois, they have a single rate tax because they put it in years ago when they first put the income tax in. And it's at 4.95% now. They could tomorrow, the Constitution says you can have any rate you want. It could be zero, it can be 1%, it could be 100% if you wanted. But they've got a flat rate. It's at 4.95. Illinois is run by Bolsheviks out of Chicago, and it's just, why in the world is it under 5 when other states that are more big spenders like them are over at 10% and 12% and 15%? Because if they want to raise taxes, they have to raise everybody's taxes at once. And even the guys in Illinois legislature, very left-wing, very big spenders, completely corrupt, go, we can't touch that. So getting to a single rate tax, getting down to zero, is the best protection against the politicians deciding, I think we'll go back up again. Because if they have to look everybody in the eye and say, I'm raising your taxes, most people go, explain this again, and the answer is no. So it is, I'm delighted to be here. The states, the surrounding, this region is moving forward with the exception of Virginia, which is giving West Virginia a big favor, which is they've decided to head off in the wrong direction as West Virginia is heading in the right direction. Somebody says, where should we build? In Virginia, where they're about to get rid of right to work and they're going to raise taxes, or should we stay in the state of West Virginia, where taxes are going down and going to stay down? So for the next decade, Virginia will be paying for the decisions that it's made recently to go to become a higher tax state rather than a lower tax state. By the way, had Youngkin won his majority over there, they were planning to go to zero because they watched West Virginia. They wanted to do that. Now Virginia's decided, at least temporarily, to go in the wrong direction. So first of all, I'm delighted to be here. I really enjoy being in states that are moving in the right direction. Before I emigrated to the United States, I used to live in Massachusetts. And so as I look around, as mentioned, Ohio just went to a single rate tax. They used to have 9 rates, now they're down to 1. And the gentleman running for governor says we're going to zero. And he's saying that because he's looked at Kentucky and he's looked at West Virginia. Kentucky's decided they're going to zero as well and are on track. Illinois is making the same decision. This region is en route to tremendous growth and tremendous new opportunities. And it starts by recognizing that it's wonderful to have tax cuts at the national level and to be able to say the rates are not going to go up nationally. But at the state level, state by state, families decide where to live. Kids decide whether they leave the state after they graduate from high school or college. And a lot of that's based on our jobs. Is investment coming into the state? Are jobs coming into the state? Then kids stay with parents and grandparents and don't move out. And good, hardworking people who want to be part of that move in. So you've all seen the U-Haul reports as to which states people leave, full of U-Haul stuff, taking families' stuff out of California, out of New York, and they have to pay people to drive that U-Haul back to California because nobody's moving from Texas or Florida to California with all their stuff. So they pay somebody to drive an empty truck back to get more people to leave California and leave New York. And West Virginia, with your leadership, is moving in the direction that more U-Hauls will be coming in than going out, more jobs coming in than going out. And it's a wonderful thing to be here with you guys and watch that take place here in West Virginia. Thank you.
You know, it's great to hear that perspective because it shows we are in a competitive world. And what we're doing here in West Virginia, it makes a big difference for our people, but it also influences neighboring states in terms of what they're doing. And when I see Kentucky and Ohio trying to get lower than us, I know we have to stay ahead of them. But there's another opportunity as well, and Grover mentioned it. In Virginia, they're moving aggressively toward far left policies. And there are a number of proposals, Grover, I think, to take the income tax well over 10%. So think about this. If you're thinking about where to go, do you want to go to the state where income taxes are going really high or where they're going really low? We share a long border with Virginia. We share a border with Kentucky and Ohio, obviously a number of other states. But we want to be ahead of that curve, and we want to continue to be the right story. I think there's growing support in the legislature for that 10% across the board income tax. But it's going to take all of our help to make it happen. A lot of times people want to take that money, especially during election years, they want to spend it. I'm going to ask everyone today, let's get the word out all across Wood County, the Mid-Ohio Valley, across West Virginia. We must prioritize having a 10% across the board income tax cut. Ask your legislators, be civil, be polite, but ask your delegates, your senators. We need their help to make it happen. And this is a really critical part of the state. So ask for their support and ask why if they're not going to do it. So I'm so grateful to be here. Without further ado, I want to also turn it over to the wonderful host who's here today because he helped make all this happen and he wants to be part of that thriving economy, hiring more workers and giving more tax breaks to citizens. So, Mr. DeWeese, why don't you come up and say a few words?
Thank you all for coming today, and thank you, Governor Morrisey, for what you're doing. I wear two hats. One's a business owner, and one's a CPA, and so taxes is something that's very, very near to what we do every day in our businesses and with our clients and our customers out there. I did want to introduce my wife, Tracy. She's been a very big part of this. Debbie Kimball, her and her husband are our partners in this venture. So, Debbie was raised here in Parkersburg, so this store is very near and dear to her heart from that side. The Kimballs and my wife and ourselves started this movement in 2021 when we bought Green's Feed and Seed in Charleston, West Virginia, and it was closing, 16 employees. And you fast forward from October of 21 to today, we now have 350 employees. And we are on track with tax cuts like Governor Morrisey is mentioning. We are on track to be over 500 employees by midsummer this year with expansion and growth. We're getting ready to open up in April our new store exactly like this in Ripley, West Virginia. Thank you, Mayor Rader. We're excited to be there and just excited about what's coming. We have a great team, Governor Morrisey. We have great employees. That's what has made this happen. Brandon Moore leads our Green Supply Depot. Steve Ellis leads our Greens Equipment Group. Dan Kessel, Spring Hill Rod and Gun. So many years of experience. And the team that we put together and the team that are behind them, we think we employ some of the best people in West Virginia. And we're all West Virginians. We grew up here, we live here, and we bleed West Virginia, and we're excited about the tax cuts. Just a couple things from what this means to our employees. This means more money in your pocket. You get to make those decisions of where you spend the money. Trust me, I know we have to have government and we have to have certain services, but I'd much rather trust my employees. They're able to go buy those homes, buy those vehicles, buy those toys that they want, live the life that they want to live, and enjoy what they want to do in West Virginia. It is bringing people back. I was scared to death that my daughter would leave West Virginia after she graduated from college. She'll be back here because she knows we're creating jobs. Debbie and her family, hopefully their kids will be back here too, helping to create jobs and to create things for West Virginia, that we can have great things here. We don't need to go to other states if we can do it right here. We also run a construction company. I'm a general contractor. We have approximately 80 employees. We need 50 more people tomorrow to do what we need to do. We have so much opportunity in this state, and so these tax cuts are going to be huge to help attract the talent that we need to continue to prosper and to continue to grow. As a business owner, I will tell you, and I know there's a bunch of business owners in here that are small business owners just like ourselves, it means more money for us to expand, more money for us to grow the next store, to add a new location, to add more things. And if anybody knows anything about Greens, our family, the Kimballs, we're about the communities. We give back. We try to give back so much locally. We 4-H, the farming community, with the nonprofits, everything we can do to give back. And it's just a big circle. When that money comes back in, we're not sticking it in our pockets. We're putting it right back out in our employees, in our communities, and doing the next great thing to help West Virginia to expand and grow. From the CPA side, I will tell you that I have a ton of clients, large clients, big clients, small clients throughout this state of West Virginia. And they have invested heavily over the years. These kind of tax cuts will excite them. They will be more willing to invest here. They'll be, looking to, versus expanding to other states, they'll be more interested in really investing here and keeping their dollars local and helping West Virginia to continue to thrive. And so, from all that, I think, as Governor Morrisey mentioned, we need to really get with our delegates, get with our Congress people, and just really work together to kind of get this tax cut done. It's extremely critical. It's extremely important, and it's an excellent opportunity for West Virginia to be ahead in some things versus some of our neighboring states. So thank you all for coming, and I'm going to turn it back over to Governor Morrisey. Thank you.
And now here is one of your elected representatives who goes down to Charleston. I'm really glad that you're here today, and I have a sneaking suspicion you might be supportive of income tax cuts.
Very, very supportive. Thank you guys for being here in Wood County. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greens, for choosing Wood County. Everyone said everything I wanted to say. Really, I looked around and saw all the green shirts, and I thought, wow, wonder how many jobs we have here. Wonder how many jobs we have statewide that you guys have provided, and that's awesome. I look around and I see a lot of faces, a lot of people that I know, and it makes me happy, and it makes me proud to be able to help work together to reduce income taxes to zero. So you got one delegate that's going to be supportive, so work on the rest of it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to thank David. I want to thank this store and all the people that came. This is an amazing turnout. So I'm hopeful we're going to really use this turnout to get the word all across the Mid-Ohio Valley. Pass a 10% across the board cut in income taxes now. Thank you very much for coming, and God bless.